All right.
Me being you, I opened my screen. Good morning, friends. Welcome. Thank you for your patience with us getting here. We were catching up. Um,
If I can get this page open, okay, there we are.
and we are live. And you can tell we are live because we are scrambling to share with you.
Yes, yes. Let me see where I can sit this so it can. I'm, I'm gonna sit this near the speaker. Hope you guys can't hear that. Okay, there we go. Bingo. Good morning, sexy people out there. How the fuck are you? Uh, today's title is something I was thinking about all for a while, and I was like, I wanted to talk to you guys about this. Are you allowing excuses to minimize your living? And you might say, well, John, how'd you get to something like that? Well, Friday. So let me do this. So y'all see that shirt? Greatest bands ever. Friday. Uh, I'm working from home today, and the last 4 days I went in with just half a day last week, um, because I have a cold or something like a cold, or I don't know if even it's a cold because some weird thing. It ebbs and flows. And Friday came around, and George Clinton, who's 81 years old, was in town. And anybody who knows me knows that that's my favorite living band right now. And I was moping around the house because I was using the excuse, well, I'm not feeling good. I don't know what I have. And it hit me. I went upstairs and Tori said, what's going on? It's like, well, George Clinton is downtown. So I said, well, why don't we just go and stand outside the arena or around the place where it was outside of the event? And I was like, okay, maybe. Um, I decide to go and everything cleared up. Tori felt better for a couple hours. I felt like I was like on top of the world. And it was just a simple choice in the last 2 hours before the event started that we decided to go down there. And I share this with people because then I started going back and reflecting on how many times I allow some type of excuse that won't allow me to live the ultimate lifestyle that I desire.
Mm.
And what does that do to the being, the person, your body, your relationship? How many, I was like, how many excuses? I have a friend that, I'm not gonna mention her name so she don't beat me up, that is going through something with somebody. And we talk all the time. I have a couple friends that this happens. It's kind of weird that they talk about not being happy with something, and they allow the excuse of staying with something because that's the thing that you do, and it's not creating any ease for them and their body. And when the shit hits the fan and something goes south, then they're sad. And I sit back and I'm like, wow, I've done that too. And it's an excuse. We allow accumulated excuses to minimize our living. And what if we were willing to focus on those excuses or just look at them as just, they're here. Let me choose something different outside of this. I did that Friday, and I saw it was one of the best shows. And the band is totally different than the past. And if I didn't go, I would have missed my favorite song that they sang. I would have missed Kid Funkadelic because he hasn't been in the last 2 3 concerts I went to see this band. So I was just like, how does it fucking get better than this? How do you allow your excuses? How many plays? I was like, oh, how many excuses have I allowed myself to be mundane?
Mm.
What the fuck?
You get it when you get it.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I thought when I was like, John is always doing something.
yeah. Good
Good
morning,
morning, Sharon.
Sharon. Sorry about that.
Um, I'm glad you got to go and got to have that experience. And I love that, like, where I'm taking this is what happens with our bodies when we make certain choices or don't make certain
Yes.
choices.
Yes.
Um, I I can feel awful and choose to go spend time with certain people and feel better because I made that choice. Now, um, left to my own devices, I usually choose to stay at home if my body doesn't feel great. Um, but if somebody else is driving, then I'm more likely to go. But what I know about me and my body that gives me an awareness around that particular dynamic is I don't actually like driving in the first place. So driving is effort for me.
You don't like driving?
Not really, especially not long distances. I like to be driven. I prefer to be driven. I'm supposed to be somebody's rich something. I prefer somebody else behind the wheel. Um, I have a friend who used to have house parties all the time, like minimum once a month. And her house is a 45-minute drive from mine. And one of our mutual friends was like, oh man, that drive to Florissant from Belleville, which I guess is like 10 extra minutes,
Uh-huh.
was a lot, but totally worth it once you got there. I was like, that's why I didn't come until I had a chauffeur. Party didn't start till 8. I'm gonna turn into a potato by 10. So if I did come by myself, I was only there for an hour. But if I was driven, I'm good to hang till 2 a.m. because I will lay down on your couch and take a nap.
I love that. So, so let me ask you this. So, what if you had a car that was so sexy, you know? And I say that because I sit back and I was talking to Tori because before this week, like I got checks at the end of the month that made my business make money again. So I was just like, whoa. And then so I was questioning my Lexus. And in this heat, it's been 100 degrees pretty much every day. And this is going to be TMI. So people who don't want to hear this, put your fingers in your ear right now. In this Lexus, in these leather seats, it's a cooling element that cools your tools and your entire body. The
I knew you were going there. I was waiting for
the
it. Go on.
elegance of how when you sit in this chair and how the chair actually encompasses your body, it actually seems like it's massaging. And it's this Lombard thing that's on the back. Riding in that car, like when we went to the show, we got in the car and it was like, and the car was like 108 because it was sitting in the garage and it was hot. Getting in that car and riding, turning on the music and the way the speakers are adjusted. I was making excuses before for not having and being that energy where I don't do that anymore because it's like this. I was like, oh, I don't like dress clothes. I don't like dressing up because it's never comfortable. It might have been in the past the clothes that I was buying because now that I buy these, my wife started buying these silk shirts, these tops. I don't
Yeah,
mind wearing a dress shirt, and I look actually fine as hell in that shit.
of course
Especially with
you
my bald
do.
head and the side, and I had this white shirt on when I was in Texas. I was like, ooh wee, because when you put it on, it just fell in your body, and every molecule said, no more excuses. You're living at the
Yeah.
top of your lung. So, what would it be like? You know, it's almost I'm doing this money workbook class. We're
Hmm.
having a hell of a time in this class. I'm having the most fun that I've had in a long time.
Good.
And one of the prerequisites for this is that they had to watch this video from this movie called Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory. and it was called Imagination. The song is Imagination. And everybody's been floored. They're like, how'd you come up with that? Because it allows you to get out of the minimization of living. Charlie in this story had a fucking imagination outside of this reality. And he actually started putting energy into it and made it turn into something real.
That piece.
Huh?
That piece.
Yeah. And and I'm just like I said, and this weekend was this one sister from Access sent me this definition of the word inspiration. And inspiration, the first definition, this definition was to breathe life into something. I was like,
Yeah.
ooh, that is sexy as hell. That
Yeah.
is not living a minimized life. What about all your creations, all your relations? What if you were breathing life into it and let go of the excuses?
And letting them breathe life into you.
Oh yeah, that makes it orgasmic.
I love that.
You
I
know,
didn't know that about the definition, but I love that.
yeah. When I got that, it made me think about how many are you allowing excuses to minimize your life because you've lost inspiration. There's no life breathed into you or something you want to create. There's no imagination that you can see something outside this reality. Like I realize that uh, I'm on this call with Dane and I'm writing down a list of things that make me jump up and down like a little kid. Gardening is one of those things. Watering my garden, picking yesterday we had salad and I went to pick the lettuce and I was talking to the lettuce like thank you, thank you, thank you for feeding us. You know, um, I meditate and this star meditation that I do before I go to sleep that helps me so I don't wake up all detangled and deranged and whatever. And I forgot about it. Uh, I practice Ifa. And I'm going back
Mhm.
today at lunch to get a coconut so I can start doing more divinations so I can communicate with this entity. I know some people out there are like, what the fuck? But yeah, this is me. But this is what does not allow me. I don't live a minimized life.
Mhm.
And I was like, because I decided that by doing this list, I'm going to let go of all of my excuses. I don't know
Mm.
where it's going to show up. And even to the point, like, uh, I have two classes that I'm supposed to take in Mexico next month. In this 10 seconds, I don't have the money for it.
Mhm.
And I woke up this morning in freak out mode, like, oh my God. Well, it's more than a month because it's like the classes don't start until like the 20th of September. And I was like, so I have more than a month for that to happen. And I'm sitting back and I'm asking myself a question, John, what would it take? What would it truly take to know that you're so magical that you don't have to worry about it because it's just going to simply show up because of who you are.
This is a slight deviation from the topic, or it might not be a deviation at all. Um, Last summer, I was in an experience with Perry Chase, and I got to hear Jerome Braggs speak,
Hmm.
and his entire talk was about um, the element of living. And he was saying that one of the beliefs that you have to have in order to live while you're alive
Yeah.
is that life loves me. And I have like an intellectual knowing of this,
Hmm.
but my car braking was like confirmation in my world. It was such an interesting thing. Now, this was a year ago this week when I was in this experience. I'm sitting at a green light or a red light. I put my foot on the clutch and I hear a snap. I'm like, ain't this about nothing? There's nobody behind me. I pull my emergency brake. Someone starts and put on my hazards. Somebody starts coming behind me. They see my hazards on. They go around me. I'm calling AAA. I had this tab open in my browser for a year. When my ex left, when I knew that he was moving out, I was like, should probably get some AAA. Because, not a man around. Need things. A year later, I was like, gonna buy this today. A week later, my car breaks. So I'm calling AAA. Some guy pulls up behind me on a motorcycle and goes, "Do you want me to push your car out of the streets?" Pushes my car a block and a half by himself. Doesn't even for real wait for a thank you. Gets back on his motorcycle and drives away. The
Angel.
security guard for the property that I was sitting on came by and checked on me twice while I sat and waited for the tow. When I got my car to the garage, because I didn't think it was irreparably broken, I thought my mechanic was wrong. He was right, y'all. When I found out that it was irreparably broken, I had an offer for it immediately for almost $400. Y'all, nobody can do anything with my car. Probably the best part of it is the radio that's in it. And I don't think they're going to get much for that. It's a 2005 Kia Rio. Now it has small miles, so maybe they can take the engine out and do something with that. But that's pretty much it. But that whole thing unfolded the same way. It's sitting at a shop where they don't mind it sitting there until tomorrow morning when someone comes to pick it up. My friend, I was like, "Hey, can you take me to clean out my car?" Was there in the afternoon. We were there and back in under half an hour. It's 2 minutes from my house, but still, she helped me clean it out, the whole thing. And then when I was like, "Can I cash app you? Because I don't have any cash on me," she was like, "Absolutely not." You going to Texas earlier this month,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
It just fell
Fell
into
away. Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
It just all happened.
Yeah.
And so I think that um, you going to Mexico or not going to Mexico, it might not matter one way or another, but
Yeah.
if you are meant to be there, like you were meant to be in Texas,
Yeah.
it'll be that same ease,
Yeah.
that same
Yeah.
flow.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I realize that. And that's why I titled, "Are You Allowing Excuses to Get in the Way of Your Living?" To minimize your living. I mean, because if you get blocked by this assumed excuse that, well, I'm not going to choose this or I'm not going to do this because, to me, it's like you take away you take away your possibilities. It's like this. I said a friend of mine, so I started putting some stuff on TikTok. So my buddy called me. He said, "Man, I'm watching your shit, and you said some stuff, and it's kind of deep." Tim was telling me this, and he said, say something to people about stepping up to the plate for themselves and taking responsibility for their actions and unifying.
Oh,
And I was like, well, and I thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, but people have to get to the point of wanting to have something different. So you don't get to things until you decide, "I want something different." And you say this to me all the time, and I've heard this from other people. You get it when you get it.
yeah.
And my question for this was, but are you allowing those excuses not to get what you desire? Like my friend, like I'm telling you that I spoke to last night. She's really kind of hurt with this relationship stuff. But I was asking her a question. I was like, "Girlfriend, you weren't really happy with what was going on anyway. We've had, were you sitting with me with the other conversations we were having? And what excuse are you using? What excuse are you using right now to not be happy because that's what you asked for?"
You know what? That's another conversation that I feel like we can have in the future. Um, because the relationship thing is such a complex situation. Go ahead.
if you allow it to be.
I don't know that it's ever as simple as I'm done or I'm not done.
So the relationship thing is always choice. It's always choice. Always choice. It's choice that's like has some stuff stacked on top of it sometimes.
I was gonna say, but like, what are you choosing? That's what I say. That's what I mean when I say it's complex because, like, it is always choice, but I think it's a nuanced skill to see what you're choosing.
Yeah,
We can't always see what we're choosing.
yeah, we can because after the aftermath, you always go back and you look and you see what you have. You like, ooh, I knew some of that. So the issue with this, even you and I talked about some of the past relationships. So
Yeah.
here's the beginning of the relationship, and you see the elephant, or you pretend not to see the elephant in the room. When the elephant shits on your face over here, you like, this is not going to work. But you saw that motherfucking elephant over here. And what happens is then you make excuses to stay with something because it's going to get better. Or you minimize and you settle. And most people look at me, well, John, what are you saying? I'm saying that what would it be like not to minimize by using excuses?
Ah,
I'm talking about
we're
me,
gonna have to keep
my
talking about
relationship
this. I
before.
love this.
In a previous relationship, I was like, man, I knew this. Afterwards, you was like, yeah. Well, did you ask? And here's the other piece, people. Did you ask any questions from this standpoint, or did you get swayed? And here I go. Here's the X-rated by the coochie or the penis. Did you get swayed,
Or by your own
or it's because my one
delusion.
friend shared with me? She said because the sex was good, so you're gonna give up everything else because of a physical desire, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But you gotta at least know that's what you fucking doing.
Or like if you think that so I I'm turning into a pumpkin today, but really
Oh
quickly.
yes, 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 yes.
Um Tyler Perry's movie Why Did I Get Married
Yeah,
introduced the 80-20 rule in relationships.
yeah,
So he says you're only going to get your way, you're only going to get 80% of what you want in a relationship. And then most men see 20% walking around in some lingerie and go, ooh.
yep,
And they
yep,
give up the 80 for the 20.
yeah, yep.
There's a phenomenon that I think that women experience, and I'm speaking for myself, but I can see it, where we go, ooh, look, a 20% that I've never had before.
Yep.
I'm missing 80 whole percent of what I need and what I want. But this 20 is so sparkly, I'm going to take it.
And
And then down the line, they're like, give me all the other things I need too. When that human was like, I am not this in the beginning.
yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And the whole thing is making excuses so that you can't have the whole 100%.
Yeah.
It's an excuse because you can have so. And what happens is most people fucking settle. This ain't
Mm-hmm.
a court. You're not in court. This is living. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn the pumpkin, y'all. I gotta go back and see some beautiful kids rest of the day. I still haven't retired. If Jimmy Brown's still on here, I'm still representing West Side. Anyway, no, anyway. Uh
You're so
I hope you
goofy.
guys have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll see you next Monday. If you have anything you ever want us to talk about, send us a message. We talk about anything. Or if you want to be
Ooh.
a guest, we're looking for guests too. Some of you guys out there sitting in the shadows, come on up front. Join us one Monday morning. Love you guys tons. I'm always best part of the starting the week is with my sister Lila. Y'all haven't met her in person yet, so that's the craziest thing. So, but that's going to happen in the near future because I'm gonna make that
We're
happen.
gonna sort that out. He's gonna come to Chicago. I'm gonna have a car that works. I'm gonna drive up there. It'll be fine.
Anyway, until next week, people. Peace and blessings. Deuces.
Bye, friends.
Bye.